So in addition to failing Upward, Heather apparently wants to get herself canceled. To say John Byrne's artwork from the late 70s to early 80s is part of my Mount Rushmore of comic book art would be an understatement. And I'll be honest, I was scripting part of this, and then I was gonna do this as a scripted video, but certain people with their attitudes caused me to jump the gun on this one. So this will be partially scripted. Anyway, Byrne really set a tone for me. From his work on X-Men, Superman Man of Steel, Alpha Flight, he worked on almost every title in Marvel. He was a workhorse, and he was good. He redefined She-Hulk, and he made so many great and wonderful contributions to the comic book world. I was watching a retrospective on X-Men, and I heard this shit.
With another long-running Claremont collaborator, John Byrne. It's unfortunate given his own lengthy history of bigotry, but Byrne's art has largely become synonymous with this era of X-Men.
Huh? What?
It's unfortunate given his own lengthy history of bigotry.
What? What the fuck?
This is John Byrne you're talking about. This is the guy, yeah, he's snarky, he's grumpy, but he's the guy who gave us so many great stories and so much great artwork over the decades, and has always seemed to be a little bit to the left. So calling him a bigot really stuck out to me. I went to search out why. It took some work. Finally, I did find it through this site, because apparently, you know, how it is, you say one little thing and boom, you're evil. You're racist and sexist and a Nazi. I bring this up because, yet again, Miss Antos, who, if you don't know Heather Antos, she really does rile up a lot. She's just, she almost caused a riot in a tech conference in Canada over AI. I mean, protested, but it's AI, man. Come on. Allegedly, she called security on a reporter who was in a forum she was leading. Don't know how true that is. That's what the reporter says. Still, I mean, she's a piece of work. You see her sometimes on Screen Crutch, and every time I see her, I turn it off. I just like Ryan here. That's it. I don't like any of the others. She went through and destroyed XO Manowar after I think it was a 10-year run that was doing excellent, and she walked in and literally destroyed it. She has went to IDW somehow, some way. She went over to IDW. She's head of editorial there now, and she has destroyed Star Trek, doing fun little out-of-continuity things, like Worf showing up 2 seasons before he ever showed up on DS9, and nobody knew him when he showed up on DS9. It's very obvious, but no, we'll just put him in 2 seasons early, nobody will care. So what does that have to do with John Byrne? Well, she lit up her Blue Sky, which, I mean, you know, the one thing about Blue Sky is, you know, once you sign up over there, you get some fun shit storms. It's really hilarious. So here it is, and well, let me read it to you. During Pride Month? Really, Marvel? Do not buy this comic. Now, in case you're wondering what this comic is, John Byrne has been doing fan fiction on his website for the past 10 years. He's been doing X-Men as he would have written it after Jean died. And somebody said that in the book, Jean doesn't die, is the weird part. And he just keeps going with the story from there. So, Marvel, they just decided last year, let's collect all this shit and let's make some money off of it. Now, they're not producing it themselves. They have a hand in it, but it's like another press company. I've heard things like, you know, the Diamond bankruptcy has cost Marvel millions of dollars, and they're having trouble affording their own books and paying their own artists. So, get a story for another time. Anyway, this looks pretty fascinating. It sold out in a minute. It did. It was amazing. Nobody expected it. They're doing a second printing. It sold so good. But this is going to be re-lettered, re-inked, and colorized. So it should be really interesting. But anyway, Heather was not happy. She hit some backlash from this little comment and then says, "You can mad at me for what I said all you want. I was policing no one." Really? Everyone is allowed to spend their money how they want. If you want to spend it supporting a man who uses this platform to be vocally transphobic, amongst other things. That's your right and you have to live with that. Now, when you hear that, it's like, what the hell did Byrne do? Well, kids, I told you I found it, and it's because this little website actually had links to it. And this little website did a little hit piece on Byrne. Didn't really even address his points. Just told him, "You're awful for saying that." Let's see what he said. I'm interested. So this is the post that started it off. Okay, I wanted to avoid this whole topic, but as of now I am officially confused. I consider myself a pretty worldly guy. Not much surprises me. But I just read that Caitlyn is foregoing the unkindest cut of all. She's keeping his penis. So explain this to me. How does this make her something other more than a man in drag? Seriously, inquiring minds want to know. It is a question. Why can't we ask this question? Nothing mean about trans people, but why can't we ask this question? It is a question. It's a good question. It would seem like if, you're secure with what you want to be, you'd be able to answer that question. It's called dialogue. No, it's transphobic. Oh no, it's transphobic. Now, Byrne does go on a little bit more. Because she is living her life as a woman. How does one live as a woman? I thought this was funny. He says, I was discussing this with one of my gal pals who took offense to the concept. Is he bad at math and driving, she asked. His friend has a good sense of humor. I mean, that is kind of a funny line. Of course, that's misogynist, even though it was a female who said it. Yes, I'm being serious. That's what the article said. It was being misogynist, even though his friend said it, and I think they're trying to say he said it and then, try to frame it that somebody else said it, but no. And if gender is in the mind, it may be possible to have a body of one gender and a mind of the other. Here's the question. If one is, for instance, a woman trapped inside the body of a man, how would one know? Not having any time been a woman, what's the frame of reference? I honestly find this as a pretty good question to ask. I mean, that's honestly, you can call me transphobic all you want. I think this is a valid question. I said this about the pronoun thing. I will never forget when the pronoun thing started, and I started talking to somebody about it, and they were using, they wanted they them, and I said, well, why? I mean, can you explain that to me? It's like, well, sometimes I feel like a guy, sometimes I feel like a girl. I'm like, well, how? And it was like, well, sometimes I want to watch football, sometimes I want to cook. And I'm like, Gordon Ramsay cooks. He's not female. He's not got any female kind of energy to him. Well, he's a chef. I'm just saying men can cook. Oh, yeah, okay. So here's a question. Okay, so kind of in response to that, if the genders don't think differently and the gender is not in the mind, there couldn't be any. But the genders do think differently and gender isn't in the mind. The process would at first be simply recognizing one does not think like the other men. Well, by that assessment, I'm trans because, I don't think like a lot of men. Sorry. Then recognizing a profound identification with the way women think and bring out the trapped feeling. I belong with them. I don't like how that's framed. I belong with them. Traditionally, women are imagined to think differently because they're seen as being more at the mercy of their hormones than men. That's a valid point. Byrne brings up a really good point. That was a way to make sure women... It was a way to keep women down, basically. But that cannot be the case in transgender, can it? Not before treatment, anyway. Yeah, that's a good point. There seems to be a whole lot of mythology and not a lot of science here. Another of my gal pals had an abortion when she was in her 20s. The aborted fetus was female. Decades later, when she told her then adult son about this, he immediately declared this must be why he felt himself a woman trapped in a man's body. That's interesting. From a quote from someone else, I believe everyone is bisexual. I believe societal dogma it has a heavy influence on what is acceptable. Byrne responds, sounds like you're reading your own personal microcosm as representative of the macrocosm. Rarely a good idea. And this was the one that really got to people. I read this and I'm like, this is an interesting comparison. It's not even a comparison, it's just asking the question. People with penises are in, people with vaginas in, and, that's the quote that he's quoting from. And let's get really hard-hearted about this for a moment. A penis is not a roll of flesh stitched together by a doctor. A vagina is not an open wound that is prevented from healing. As I think I have made very clear many times, my whole philosophy comes down to consenting adults. A lot of people do whatever they want, as long as nobody gets hurt. The sideshow surrounding Jenner, that one got it really big because they said, the sideshow, he's comparing Caitlyn Jenner to a circus. Goddamn right that was a circus. Go back and look, it was a circus. And some of the choices he seems to be making, that's bred in circuses. And I mean, yeah, it was a circus. It's the truth. I mean, that whole thing was a mess. And I think, get mad at me if you want, I think 90% of it was actually just trying to generate buzz. I don't think there was any, I think there was a little bit of half-heartedness in it the whole time. It was just always a feeling I had. And then there's this one. As it currently stands, we don't have enough hard scientific evidence to truly understand what causes people to be transgender or how it works. What we do know is a very difficult experience for these people. There's a lot of social stigma around it, and many resort to suicide. So it's best to be respectful, live and let live. There's another one he got a lot of heat for. A really hard question, and this is a hard question. Many people are tortured and driven by desire to have sex with children. Our society frowns on this, and such people are considered mentally ill. We do not accommodate them. We do not respect them. How is being transgender different? Given the twists and turns that have happened in our general understanding of how the brain and mind work, still a work in progress. How difficult it is to imagine a future in which it will be determined without a doubt that transgender is indeed a mental illness. How do we feel about those people who, instead of actually helping them, we encourage them in a program of self-mutilation? This is a long road, and so far we have barely taken a single step on it. Christine Jorgensen was half a century ago. How much has changed? That one he got a lot of shit for. Question that should not be threatening. It should be something to talk about. Something to, bridge the gap of understanding, which I think is what Byrne was doing here. He was just asking some hard-ass questions. And I think they deserve to be asked. And really no one's answering. They still haven't answered. I mean, people knee-jerk react. Oh, God! Instead of, let's talk about these points. No, you're evil. You're a Nazi. I mean, we've seen this happen before. We know this happened. It's been happening and happening and happening. And by hell, if you look around hard enough, you'll find out the gays and the bisexuals and the lesbians are sick of this shit. And that's the point. We're all sick of this shit. And Heather has taken an L for this one. She's really hurting. And could have happened to a nicer girl. Because Heather has caused a lot of pain and aggravation throughout her career. I will say up front, I don't like Heather Antos. I think she's unnecessarily antagonistic. There is rumors of her, basically every bit of her success was screaming sexism. And that's how she got promotions. I know I've read comics that she was supposed to be the editor of that had god-awful typos. I mean, typos happen, and even an editor can miss them. But not as bad as what I was seeing. You may think differently. That's fine. But John Byrne is a fucking legend. You can't... You're not going to win at canceling him. The dude had a book sell out the day it went up for pre-order. And it doesn't matter. The corporation is going to look at the money. The fans are going to look at the creators they love. And Heather is going to look like an idiot, which she does. And will be on an island to herself. Which I don't mind whatsoever. In fact, I'm laughing about it. Okay. So trying not to do these ambulance chasing ones. Or chasing the headline. But I feel a little strongly about this just because it's Byrne. And I mean, this is one time he asked some very hard questions. I think are some pretty good talking points. And instead of addressing the talking points, he was labeled an istinophobe. And that needs to tell you something about the way this subject gets treated in our society. Because if you can't ask a question and get an honest answer, and if you really read these questions, there's nothing threatening about these questions. There's nothing trying to be evil about these questions. These are honest-to-God questions that deserve to be examined. I mean, the tough one is the mental illness one. Yes. But that last statement of it, we encouraged in a program of self-mutilation. That's one we got to go, wait, if we are not understanding something here, that is what we're doing. And I think that is a big one. I think that's a big one that, deserves to be talked about. And maybe he's wrong. Everybody can be wrong. It's not a big deal. But that alone makes you want to say, Okay, let's talk about this and get a better answer. Because right now it's too damn vague. And it is. Alright, really tried to avoid politics of this. It's almost impossible, I grant you. But I did try to handle this with a little bit of level-headedness and just get to the meat of it. What actually was said, and by whom, and where, and when. So yeah, it's been 10 years. Let it go, Elsa. Let it go. John Byrne's damn legend. Alright, thanks for watching. See ya.